Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Francia, and on this channel, we do a little bit of everything. But lately, I have been into true crime, and if you're interested as well, I hope you hit your subscribe button and your notification bell so that you always know when I upload. Today's story is quite interesting, okay? I'm telling you, you're gonna want to watch until the end because it will blow your mind. I can't make this up. Well, at least I didn't, but it could have potentially been a little bit made up. But you have to watch, you have to listen for yourself and tell me what you think. So today we have a dudette. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, apparently we can do it too. We can do it too. A woman was out here unaliving these men. Yeah, she switched it up on them. She was like, anything you can do, I can do better. Yeah, she did that. Y'all, this lady was just different, okay? People saw her as a farmer, mother, and widow, but underneath the facade of a quiet life in a small town in America, this lady had a dark secret. A secret that would claim the lives of dozens and leave a haunting legacy. Between 1884 and 1908, she claimed the lives of at least 40 people in Chicago, Illinois, and LaPorte, Indiana. Most of them were men, making her one of the most prolific female serial killers in history. Yeah, we do it too. Who exactly are we talking about? Let's get into it. This happened in Norway, so I'm about to butcher some names, so my apologies. Belle Gunness, born Brynhild Polsdatter Storseth, oh Lord, was born on November 11th, 1859 in Selbu, Norway, to a stonemason named Paul Pedersen Storseth and Berit Oldstatter Storseth. And she was the youngest of 8 children. That's one mother. Is it just me, or did these people not feel the pain that comes with labor? Why did we have so many? Does it stop hurting at some point for y'all? I don't understand. I don't understand. 8 children, 1 hoo-ha. Okay, you know what? Let me stop because my mom had 6. So she's not that far from 8. But how? I can't. I had 2 and I still have nightmares. Anyways, they weren't even all the way financially stable popping all them kids. It was said that they were a poor family who worked their fingers to the bone and saved every penny they made. They were able to retire a little early on and got themselves a small farm, which is where they raised most of their children. But they were still in poverty. You know, just because you bought a farm doesn't make you rich. It doesn't mean you start living large. It was said that Belle would dream of leaving this poverty and moving to America just like her sister did so that she can become rich and live her best life. Yeah, that was her dream. So she figured she would need to work and save money to make this dream a reality. When she was about 14, she got herself a little job working on several different farms, working as a servant on a wealthy farm for a few years, saving every penny she made so she could afford her immigration process fees, dues. Now, allegedly, there was a little bit of an incident or a tragedy that happened that would change Belle's life forever. When she was about 18 years old, it was said that Belle was with child and she went to a dance. This happened while she was in Norway, by the way. And while she was at this dance, a man kicked her for whatever reason, didn't say why, but a man kicked her in her stomach, which caused her to miscarry. Apparently, the man was never prosecuted because he came from a wealthy family and, you know, more money, more power. If you have money, you're apparently above the law, you know? And as you can imagine, that must have infuriated Belle. And it was said that she was never the same after this. There was a drastic change in her personality, is what the locals reported. And then oddly enough, the man that did that to her, he was no more. Shortly thereafter, he kicked the bucket. They said that he died of stomach cancer, but I'm side-eyeing. You know, maybe it's karma. Maybe it's Belle. We don't know. A few years after the incident in 1881, her application went through and she immigrated to the United States of America to Chicago, Illinois, where she stayed with her sister and brother-in-law. She wasted no time though. When she got there, she quickly got a job as a maid and later on got another job working as a butcher cutting up dead animals. That sounds like a job for a dude, but don't be alarmed. Belle was not a tiny woman. She stood at 5'9" and she weighed over 200 pounds. That's not small. It's pretty tall. Yeah. She worked tirelessly, and a few years later, Belle got herself a little boo thing named Mads Sorensen. Okay, she was all booed up. The couple married in 1884 and reportedly had 5 children, with one of them being adopted, although there were speculations that she allegedly was never pregnant. But anyways, there was 5 children in that house, and 2 of them died early on in their infant stage of life from acute colitis, which symptoms can result from poisoning. So, Now, here's a problem I have. Maybe that was a thing back then, back in them olden days. Or maybe it's still a thing that is practiced now and I just don't do it. But are y'all out here taking out life insurance policies on y'all babies? Like, I'm talking about fresh out the womb babies? Is it a thing? Or is it me? Because that's what this lady was out here doing. She apparently had life insurance policies on the babies, and as soon as they passed, she collected, of course. I'm side-eyeing again because, 2 years later in 1886, the couple opened a candy store, and it was said that it was not doing too well financially and mysteriously ended up burning down to the ground, and they collected insurance money. Shortly after that, their house apparently burned down as well. And what did they do? You guessed it. They collected insurance payout. Nothing weird here. Just, the usual children dying, life insurance collected, store burning down, insurance collected, house burning down, insurance collected. Like I said, nothing weird. Look, I know life insurance is important and you don't have to be of olden age to get life insurance. I get that, but these people were just very big on making sure that everybody had a life insurance policy on them, and in some cases 2 different policies, for life insurance on that same person. What? So here's what happened. Mads, the husband, he purchased 2 life insurance policies, right? One was gonna run out on July 30th of 1900, and the other was going to come into effect on that same day, July 30th of 1900. No, you heard it right. It's not a mistake. His policies were going to overlap for that one day, right? And oddly enough, that day, tell me why Mads died of a cerebral hemorrhage. Tell me why. And Belle would explain that day, Mads had come home with a headache and she gave him some sort of a medicine powder type thing for the pain. And then later on, when she went to go check on him, he was no more. He had gone bye-bye. And then the day after her husband's funeral, Belle requested to get the money from the insurance company, which made the family very suspicious, Mads' family that is, and rightfully so, because that was so quick. I would be too. Ma'am, you should be mourning, and the last thing on your mind at that moment should be life insurance money. So yeah, I'd be a little suspicious as well. They requested an investigation be opened into their loved one's case, but they never did exhume his body to do an autopsy to check for poisoning and things of that nature. And then the insurance just paid out almost $10,000 to Belle, which she took and made her way to Porte, Indiana, where she got herself a pig farm and apparently a new booth thing as well, because on April 1st of 1902, Belle married Peter Gunness. He was also from Norway, and apparently Gunness is a common last name over there. Peter had 2 daughters, an older daughter and an infant daughter, and a week after they got married, his infant daughter mysteriously passed away while she was alone in Belle's care. Suspicious. Peter himself wasn't lucky either, because a few months later, in December of 1902, Peter would also pass away. According to Belle, Peter was doing some stuff around the house, fixing stuff in the kitchen, just being a dude living on a farm, and he was trying to reach for something that was on a high shelf, and a meat grinder fell on his head, smashing his skull. Okay, so I have no idea what a meat grinder look like, and I was thinking, okay, this thing has to be like a huge behind thing sitting on a shelf. How did you mistakenly brush it off with your hand and get it to fall over on your head? I don't know. I just had like a lot of questions. So I Googled what a meat grinder looked like. And I'm like, okay. The math ain't mathin', because this doesn't look like something that would smash open your skull and unalive you just because it fell on your head. You might have a concussion, you might be hurt. Okay, you might be hurt. There might be a lot of blood, but I don't think that would unalive you just by falling on your head. I think someone would have had to hit you with it. Blunt force trauma is what would take your life using that thing, but I don't think it would unalive you just by falling on your head. You get what I'm saying? Comment below if you catch my drift and tell me if that makes sense to you. Plus, the locals were saying that there's no way that Peter was so clumsy. He had run a hog farm on the property and he was a very experienced butcher, so ain't no way. They didn't believe that he would have done something like that. Also, her adopted daughter, who was 14 at the time, told her classmates that her mom unalived her dad by hitting him over the head with a meat cleaver and told them not to tell anybody. That's not good. This little girl should not have opened her mouth. Oh my God. Mes amis, ti les anges lan wè, et puis la parler, kounya fi sa pral, oh bon Dieu. Oh my goodness. This is not good. And the coroner suspected foul play, but the investigation would not go any further. When they brought the daughter forward to confirm what she had told her friends at school, she recanted her whole story. Then they spoke with Belle, who denied everything, and I'm guessing she was very convincing because they just took her word for it. Yep, that's what you do in a criminal investigation. You take people's word. What is wrong with you? Did we not have detectives back then or something? Because why are we not investigating these murders properly? Why are we not doing autopsies, especially when people keep dying on this lady's watch? Ugh. And as you already know, Belle then collected $3,000 worth of insurance money from Peter's death. Thank God Peter's older daughter survived this evil lady, and her uncle, Peter's brother, ended up taking her with him to Wisconsin. This lady was on one, okay? She was just evil. This lady was with child at the time of Peter's death. She literally took out her baby daddy, all while she was pregnant with his child. She was cut from a different cloth, I tell you. In May of 1903, she gave birth to a son named Philip. Now, by this point, Belle figured, hey, I could make a real living doing this. Just getting men with money and or insurance policies on their lives and marry them, and they're going to accidentally pass away. And I'm going to collect. That way, I won't have to keep working my fingers to the bone and I don't have to be broke. So she came up with a plan. Belle decided that she was going to start placing marriage ads in a newspaper. Like, I'm looking for a boo thing. If you're interested, call this number, blah, blah, blah. Belle had like a date nap before date nap was a thing. Swipe left if you're interested. Wait, do you swipe right? I don't know. But anyways, she put her little marriage ads in the papers, and shortly after, a Wisconsin farmhand gentleman by the name of Henry Gerholt answered her ad. Poor guy. He had no idea the fate that awaited him. After Henry got to Porte, he wrote to his family, letting them know that he was okay and that he liked the farm, and he asked them to send him some seed potatoes. All was well and life was great. And then after that, they never heard from him again. They got in touch with Belle, who told them that Henry had left to go to Chicago. Lies from the Book of Lies. In late 1886, Belle told her neighbors that her adopted daughter went to college in Los Angeles, but I think we all know that's most likely not true. I think Belle knew that the young lady knew about what she had done to Peter, and she told her friends about it, and she decided that it was time for her to go, because why are you volunteering that information? Who asked you? It's giving sus. It's giving I'm covering my tracks so no one reports her missing. This lady was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, man. Now, she continued putting her little ads in the paper saying that she owns a large farm and she's looking for an equally well-provided gentleman to join fortunes with her. What fortunes? You weren't looking to join anything. You were looking to take theirs. Ugh. The next victim who answered another one of her ads was John Moe of Minnesota in 1906. They talked and they wrote each other beautiful letters for several months, and then John decided it was time to travel to LaPorte and go be with the love of his life. He went to his bank, took out about $1,000, and left to go live what he thought was going to be his best life. Sadly, no one would ever see or hear from him again. In 1907, Belle hired an employee named Ray to help her with her farm. Her next victim was George Anderson from Missouri. One good night, they were sitting at the table having dinner, and Belle rose the issue about how she was having such a hard time paying her mortgage, and she was concerned. And Anderson, being the gentleman that he was like, "Oh, no worries. I will definitely take care of that for you. No problem. But we have to be married. I can't be out here paying my girlfriend's mortgage. You know what I mean? You got to be my wife." That's how I'm thinking he said it. And then later that night, as he was asleep, he was awakened to find Belle standing over him with some sort of an object, like a candle holder or something like that, in her hand. And she had like a weird look on her face. And then without saying anything, she just turned around and left the room. This spooked him so much that he just gathered his belonging and himself and he fled the farm, never to look back. Good for him. I wonder if she wanted to unalive him, but she realized, hey, I hadn't gotten a penny from him, and decided to play it smart. But then he just happened to wake up at the last minute to find her standing on top of him like that. What would have happened had he just paid the mortgage right when she told him that she'd have the money? He would have probably sealed his fate. What a warm, loving, and affectionate woman. Now, all these bays kept rolling into her house and never making it out, except for Anderson, of course. And it was said that she started ordering a whole bunch of trunks to be delivered in her house. And this guy, the driver who was delivering those trunks, said that this woman was like the Incredible Hulk, if the Incredible Hulk existed back then. She was so strong. She just picked up those trunks, according to his account, and just threw them over her shoulders as if they were marshmallow boxes. You know, remember I said she was about 5'9" and 200 pounds? I'm sure she got a little bigger after she had them kids. You know, so she was strong. The way she was unaliving these men, she was strong. People would also notice that she was digging late at night. I'm telling you, highly suspicious. This lady was highly suspicious. And I don't know why they just didn't look. I don't know. Her little killing business activities would come to an end, or come to light really, when her farmhouse burned down in April of 1908. In the post-fire debris, authorities would find 4 bodies. 3 of them were children, and the other one was that of an adult headless woman whom they concluded was Belle Gunness. Okay, now let's walk it back and let me tell you what happened. Okay, stay with me. In December of 1907, this guy named Andrew from South Dakota answered Belle's ad about the marriage thing, right? They started talking, exchanging beautiful romantic letters, as she often does. Andrew fell in love, and by the next year, in January of 1908, he took his little life savings of $2,900 and made his way over to LaPorte, Indiana, to be united with the love of his life. They were seen together a few days later making deposits at the bank, and then shortly after, Andrew just disappeared, never to be seen again. So then, remember Ray, right? The guy she had hired to help out in the farm. It was said that Ray was deeply in love with Belle and would do anything that she asked of him, just anything. And he became very jealous of all the men that kept coming in and having a good time with his boss. You know, so he started making scenes and showing his little tail. And I think there is a good chance that Ray may have been hitting that on and off, because why are you so jealous? Even if you had a thing for her, wouldn't you just keep it to yourself? But I think homeboy might have been hitting that, and he was feeling a little possessive. So yeah, he started becoming real jealous And Belle was like, I have had it with you. We're never going to be together. You're fired. So yeah, she fired Ray in February of 1908 and hired Joe to replace Ray. Remember Joe? Shortly after firing Ray, she went to the courthouse to file a complaint saying that Ray was threatening her and her family and that she feared for their lives, and had Ray arrested for trespassing. But I guess they didn't have enough to hold him, so they released him. And then Ray, who was just so in love with Belle, he just kept going back over there trying to profess his love to Belle, and Belle just kept turning him away. Ray was not happy. Now, on the other side of life, Andrew had a brother named Asley. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so we're just going to call him A. So Andrew's brother A noticed that his brother did not return home as expected, went through his brother's stuff and found that his brother had been corresponding with this lady named Belle in Porte, Indiana. A decided to reach out to Belle to inquire about his brother's whereabouts. Belle responded back to him, telling him that Andrew was not at her farm and that he probably went to Norway to visit relatives. A wrote back to her saying that no, my brother would not do something like that. As a matter of fact, I believe that he's still in Porte. Then Belle fired back saying that, well, if you don't believe me, you can come down here and look for him and I will even help you look. But I do have to warn you that searching for people over here is costly. And if I'm going to devote myself to help you look for your brother, I'm going to need to get paid. A was like, bet. I'm going to come down there and I'm going to look for my brother. I'll be down there in May. Now, although she was playing it cool, inside she was low-key freaking out because Ray is already causing problems because, understand, Ray is the boy, the man whose love and obsession with her she exploited and made him do a whole bunch of stuff. And Ray knew a whole lot of stuff about her. And if he started talking because she wasn't trying to give him the time of day anymore, then that would be a problem. And now Andrew's brother is starting to inquire about Andrew and threatening to come down to her farm to look for Andrew himself. So she needed a plan. So she thought to herself, hey, we've been using Ray. He's in love with us. Why not continue using him all the way, right? She went to her lawyer, told her lawyer that she feared for her life and the lives of her children because Ray just kept threatening to unalive her and her children and burn down her house. She wanted to make sure that her children would be okay if anything were to happen to her. So she told her lawyer she wanted to draw up a will to leave all of her estates to her children, and then she left. But she did not go to the police. She went to the bank and then went quote unquote home. Okay. Which brings us back full circle. We're back to the day of the fire. That night or early that morning of April 1908, Joe, remember Joe? Joe, the guy she had hired to replace Ray, he woke up smelling smoke in his room, which was on the second floor of the house. He opened his door, called out the names of Belle and her children, but nobody responded to him. And the fire just kept getting bigger, so he managed to get out and run to go get help. But, things didn't progress as fast as they do now, so it took them a little while. And by the time they gathered their stuff and put out the fire, there wasn't much left. The house had burned down and the fire had consumed everything and everyone in it. Now, somehow the rumors or the allegations that Belle was spreading about Ray threatening her and her children made their way over to the sheriff, and Ray immediately became a suspect. Also, Belle's lawyer confirmed that Belle had told him she feared that Ray would unalive her and her children and burn down her house. Then on top of that, there's an eyewitness who confirmed that they saw Ray running away from the direction of the house right before it exploded in flames. Needless to say, Ray's fate was pretty much sealed. He was arrested and charged with murder and arson. When detectives deepened their investigation into the remains, the headless woman became a problem. There are many people, like neighbors and friends, people who knew Belle quite well. They all look at the remains of the headless woman and confirmed with certainty that there's no way that was Belle. And then doctors took measurements and concluded that the headless woman was around 5'3" and weighed no more than 150 pounds. And we all know Belle was definitely between 5'8" and 5'9", and she weighed well over 200 pounds. So ain't no way that that was her, you know? Makes you wonder, right? And also, there's this dentist who did work for Belle who said that he would be able to identify his work, because I'm guessing around this time it was not a whole bunch of them in the area or a whole bunch of dentists, period. So he probably was the only one servicing that area, and he probably did work on a lot of people, Belle included. So he told them that if they were able to like bring him evidence of her bridge that he did for her, fake teeth that he concocted for her, he would be able to identify his work, which they did find some bridge or fake teeth at the remains, and they brought that over to the dentist, who confirmed that yes, they did belong to Belle Gunness. Crazy. Now, remember Andrew's brother, he finally made his way down there in the middle of the investigation, and he told sheriff that he believed that Belle did something to his brother on her farm. And then Joe came forward and told the police that Belle would make him bring a whole bunch of dirt using a wheelbarrow to a large area on her farm. He said that there was a lot of depressions in the ground in that area, and Belle wanted to cover them up with extra dirt, and she told them that it was just rubbish under there, and she wanted to like level out the ground. She wanted to even it out, and that's why she wanted him to feel the depressions with extra dirt. As they dug deeper, both literally and figuratively, they unearthed something far more horrifying. The detective took a whole bunch of dudes with him, and they began to dig on May 3rd of 1908. They discovered the body of her adopted daughter. Oh my gosh, remember the one she said had gone to college in Los Angeles? Yeah, that one. And they found small bodies of 2 unidentified children. They also found Andrew's body, sadly. And as the day continued, they just kept unearthing bodies. And by day 2, they dug up at least 11 bodies. They had to put the pieces together, though, because most of the bodies were dismembered. So they had to figure out which arm belonged to which torso and which leg. You get it. Yeah, it was not good. They discovered so many bodies that they stopped counting, but by now we know that she had unalived at least 40 people, most of whom were unidentified males. This discovery, though, made them realize that this Belle lady, whom they thought was just this wonderful woman who died in the fire trying to save her children, was not really who they thought she was. Now, Ray was found guilty of arson but not murder, and on November 26th of 1908, he was sentenced to 21 years in state prison in Michigan City, Indiana. He passed away from tuberculosis a year later on December 30th, 1909, but not before spilling his whole entire guts to the good old prison reverend. Okay, now listen to this. Before passing, Ray swore to the Reverend that Belle was still alive. Yep, he told the Reverend and another inmate that he did not unalive anybody, but he did help Belle bury a whole bunch of people. Homeboy said that when her victims would arrive on her farm, Belle would make them feel comfortable. She would cook up a whole bunch of food for them, and she would proceed to drug their coffee, and once they were down and out, she would split their head with the meat grinder. Or she would wait for them to go to bed and then chloroform them while they were sleeping. And then unalive them. She would then carry their body to the basement where she would dissect it and bury the parts in different locations. And sometimes, if she was too tired, she would feed some of the parts to the hogs. Oh my gosh. Ray proceeded to say that as far as the headless woman was concerned, Belle lured the woman from Chicago with the promise of giving her a housekeeping job just days before the fire. And then according to Ray, when the woman got there, Belle drugged her, then bashed her in the head, unaliving her. And then once she was dead, she decapitated her, disposed of the head somewhere, and then dragged the corpse down to the basement, put the lady in her own nightgown, and then she removed her false teeth, her bridge that the dentist had worked on for her, placed them right next to the headless corpse so that they would find it in the fire, which is what happened. Those are the teeth, those are the fake teeth that they found that the dentist had identified as being Belle's. This woman was calculated. Oh my goodness. Wow, 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 wow. Now, I know it's still bad, they still passed away and they were children, but something when I was reading that made me feel a little better is that Ray said that she had chloroformed the children and unalived them and placed them in the basement prior to starting the fire. I don't know, it just made it feel a little less painful that they didn't inhale all that smoke and feel their lungs catch on fire before they passed, Like I said, it doesn't make it less sad, they still passed away, but at least, it wasn't from the fire. They didn't burn alive. I hope that makes sense. Then after she set everything on fire, she was supposed to meet Ray down the road, which is where the little boy saw him. He was just waiting for her, but she never showed. She took a different route across the field and disappeared into the woods and just vanished into thin air. Ray said that by the time of the fire, Belle was basically a wealthy woman. From every single dude that she had unalive, which he confirmed was about 42 of them, she acquired a lot of money. By the time she fled, she was worth about $250,000. And back in them days, that was probably in the millions by now, And the bank cooperated his story and confirmed that right before the fire, Belle did withdraw money, all of her money, well, most of her money from her account except for a few dollars, which was smart because she left a little something and she left the account open. She didn't zero them all out. She left a little something, left them open just to make them believe that, yeah, we're still banking. I'm still banking with you guys. And so that she didn't have to raise suspicion. Wow. So all in all, this lady unalived all these people. And when she felt like she was about to get caught, she came up with a master plan to fake her own death and flee from the popo and go start her life somewhere else. There were reports that she was sighted in many different parts of the country, but nothing was ever confirmed. But I'm sure by now she's no longer with us, right? Unless she was like a vampire or something. That was a long time ago. I can't do math right now, but she would be very, very ancient. Now, you have to admit, given the lack of all the things that we have now to help in murder investigation, it was a great plan. If all that stuff is true, it was a great plan. And Ray took the bait. She literally used him. And I don't think without Ray, I don't know if she would have been able to pull this off. Allegedly. That's crazy. After her crimes became public, her farm became like a tourist attraction. People would come from all across the country to see the graves, the concessions, and they would buy souvenirs. I will never understand this. Do you really have nothing to do with your time and your money? Give me your money. I will put it to better use, because that should not be a thing that should interest you. It shouldn't be. You should be disgusted by the fact that this lady was out here unaliving all these people, and yet you find it fascinating to go over to the site and buy souvenirs. What's wrong with you? I swear people are just weird, man. Just weird. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Belle Gunness. This lady was what she was, okay? She allegedly did what she did, and I have no words. But I want to know what you think. Do you believe that she actually died in the fire and that Ray was lying? Or do you believe that she faked her own death and framed Ray and fled the popo and lived her best life somewhere else with all that money? And also, do you feel that whatever happened to her at 18 when this guy kicked her and made her lose her baby, do you feel like a switch went off or something? I don't know. Comment below, because this lady was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Anyways, that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you like this video. I will see you guys in my next one, but until then, I hope to see you in the comment section. Bye.